I tried, guys. I tried to find a public match, but no luck. Now, granted, maybe I'm just playing at a bad time, but who knows. Let's go for an aggressive, strong opponent, random color, and small flipped board. So I guess the option here is that we either lock in or we take. Kind of like the lock here. I think that kind of pins their king in a bit, in a way that they would likely find undesirable. This one we might actually take, yeah. Okay. That gives us a pretty good line of sight on the bishop. However, we can't take it, because then we would get taken by the rook. However, we could position our queen right here, and that could set us up to take the knights. Oh, bishop takes pawn. Interesting play. We will take with this pawn, maintaining the pressure. Well, I was going to say you escaped with your knight, but I just take with the pawn, don't I? Interesting play. I don't see why I wouldn't just take with my queen here. Okay, and I don't think I actually need to worry about that board at present. Is it my turn? Yeah, I'll just get your queen out of the picture, maybe? Seems sensible to me. Although I will note, my king is kind of in a vulnerable position there, so that is something I'll need to watch out for. Okay. I will castle to help my king get out of a vulnerable position. And actually, come to think of it, I'm actually at a disadvantage on this board now, aren't I? Well, maybe. No, I'm not. No, I'm not at all in a disadvantage, because it's rook, bishop, king, and knight versus rook and bishop and king, I guess, also. And also not rook anymore, because I just took you with my pawn. Simultaneously, I might consider... I think I can actually take this rook here and be pretty okay with it, because I can't take with the bishop because they need to deal with the pawn this turn. Now, hold on, can this king just, like... Their king could actually probably just take my queen, come to think of it. So now... Because, yeah, if I took the rook with the queen, then the king could escape the pawn by going to the alternate dimension and taking my queen, which is obviously bad. So, instead, we're just going to get our... Oh, we can check the king on this board. It actually forked the rook. That sounds wonderful. Okay, he just will not stop making alternate dimensions, and now he actually can't lose on this board because he doesn't have a king anymore. Over here, we will... And heck, why not take that rook now? And check the king. We can get this bishop... this knight moving forward, and that actually protects some squares to potentially start making some queens. Or, you know what, we could just make a queen. And that's game over. So I'm curious, so you were checking, obviously. Curious why wasn't the king able to just move, like, backwards? Oh, it's because the queen was also checking this king from the past. Gotcha. So that's what really won the game. Okay. Pretty neat. Standard princess. So, honest question. Is it a bad sign that I am apparently better at 5D chess than regular chess? Let's see. You either defend the pawn, and I think actually defending with the bishop here makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, I'm now in check. I think we just block with the pawn. It's not very forcing, but I think it's reasonable enough. And we can apply some pressure with our other pawn here. It also reinforces that pawn, which is good, generally speaking. I'd love to be able to move this pawn forward. Not quite sure how I'll manage that. We can keep chasing the princess, though. Alright, we're taking your princess. Yeah, to me, it just seems like the aggressive AI is at times just kind of short-sighted. What is this? You just essentially recreated the board state that was bad in the first place. I guess now you've got 2 bishops. Not sure that changes things, though. Or at least not in the way you want it to. Actually, you know what would be even better? Why take the pawn when you can take the rook? Yeah. And over here on this side of things, you know what? Why take the pawn when you can take the rook? Ah, yes, the classic bring the king to another dimension to defend him maneuver. So we'll just take the rooks on both of these boards. Okay. Well, this knight is basically dead anyways, so let's just trade and get something out of it. Let's see. On this board, I mean, honestly, this board kind of feels just kind of pointless. Because it kind of technically is. I guess we can take this. Well, no, we shouldn't take the pawn without. Here, we'll move the princess up. I mean, we can just trade, theoretically. Doesn't sound terrible. I kind of want to move my princess over to this board at some point. Not quite sure I'm gonna manage that. Also, you didn't take my free knight. Why? Now I'm gonna put my knight here and defend everything. Meanwhile, I will take my princess, put her right here. Wait a minute. No, that's not good, because then this bishop will be able to move diagonally through space-time and take the princess. So instead, what we will do, we will put the princess right here and just take a pawn. Or, we take this pawn, maybe. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Okay, I'm not sure what that bishop move, or that pawn move, for that matter, is supposed to achieve. I guess we'll grab this here bishop with our knights. And then on this side of things, this side of town, I guess we'll take this pawn with our princess. Alright, we'll put our princess right here on this board. And over here, we can just take their knights, theoretically. Sure. What is wrong with this AI? Is this really the strong AI? I'm doubtful. We will take this princess, and actually, you know what, forget that. Let's take this princess, and let's get a check going. Sounds fun. Ha, bet you didn't see that one coming. And that is, of course, checkmate, checking both the king in the present as well as this king, way back here. Amazing. Despite the fact that he made one of his kings completely unreasonable, and by unreasonable I mean unreachable, we still managed to win. Huzzah! Let's go for a balanced opponent. The aggressive guy, he's too aggressive to actually be competent, as it turns out. We'll go for some tactician. So, if I remember correctly on this game mode, our first move has to, it has to go onto the opposite board. And a pawn kind of makes sense as a first move. I like this one, I guess. Okay. Now from here, we could start taking stuff, which we will. And then we will also be able to do something on this board, like take this pawn. And I'm not sure if they can capture with their pawn across like that. Well, obviously they wouldn't be able to because they were in check and had to do something about that. Alright, not to rain on my opponent's parade here, but this just seems like an awful decision. Like, abysmal. Like, this is a terrible board state for him to be on. I guess we'll check him. Over here, we can take a knight for a pawn. That's a pretty good trade in my book. And we get a queen out of it, technically, although that's not gonna last. Although we don't need to do anything on that board just yet. We can submit and see what happens. And, oh, we already won. by checking the king with a pawn. Well then. Well. I'll take it. I will take it. I told you that wasn't a good board state to be in. Knights versus bishops. Yeah, we've got the knights. Okay. Let's start by pushing this pawn forward slightly. Well, okay, here's an interesting thing to note, though. They've got bishops, so we need to be kind of careful about diagonals. Ideally, what we might want to do is take out one of their colored bishops quickly, and then put all of our pawns on the same side as the bishop that survives, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to orchestrate anything that intricate or not. Another idea is putting the queen out here on the white squares, or on some diagonals, to potentially police them slightly. Let's put a pawn forward. I'd rather not trade my queen immediately, because that's our only way to deal with the diagonals. And that's actually isn't a good trade series for me. Well, actually, it's not bad. It's a queen trade. It's not terrible. We need to castle pronto, because I don't like how exposed my king is. We'll put a knight right there. And we are... I hate that. I hate it. Here's an idea. Let's take our knight and go back to the past. Yeah. Okay, and then, now that we're here, what do? Good question. Wonderful question. A question that will certainly get an answer at some point. We're going to bring our other knight over. Okay, that should have been anticipated. I can't actually take the pawn back, so I think I've got to do this, which looks terrible, but it's what we've been forced to do in that circumstance. I guess we could just take their pawn, or we press further forward and try to lock things up a bit. Okay, so they got a queen. We can't actually... Ooh. This is awful. This is just flat out abysmal. We are going to another world, I think. I guess the question is, do we want to put our king on this board or just create another board? Let's literally just put our king on this board and see what happens. Oh, we can't do that? Because then we would... Okay. Yeah, yep, that's not good. Do we have a way to capture this? Oh, we do! With our rook. Wonderful. Okay, rook for knights. Yeah, I'm not actually sure if rooks are better than knights on 5D chess. Because, and here's my logic. Knights can actually do some pretty interesting things with regards to going across dimensions and stuff. Whereas rooks are kind of terrible at dimension hopping. Because the only way they can go to different parallel universes or forwards or backwards in time is if the space they were literally on that turn was never occupied in the past. Which means if they have been on a space for more than one turn, they can no longer travel between dimensions, which is somewhat important in 5D chess. So I'm not actually sure if the trade of a knight for a rook is actually favorable for us or not. It's a question, that's for sure. Also, arguably I should save that rook. I might just do that by, I don't think I've got a way to capture that bishop, unfortunately. But what I can do... I could put this king in check, which would not really do anything immediately for me. What I could do instead is... Wait, can I even get it? I thought I could move one of these knights into a place where I could... Oh, I can move that knight. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Okay, on this side of things... simultaneously, though, this pawn is actually undefended. So, like, we could defend it by bringing our other knight involved. And that might be the right play, because that activates our knight and defends the pawn and doesn't give up what arguably might be a better piece. Jury's still out on that. That being said, I just instinctively I look at the scenario and I think, do I really want to be the guy who's got a rook and 3 knights versus the guy with 2 rooks? Because 2 rooks are pretty good at checkmating, typically. Although this is 5D chess, so who knows. And then I'm also thinking, so knight takes, pawn takes, right? And then from there, maybe you get something like pawn forward, really putting some pressure on the idea of like, hey, if that king moves too far afield, I've got a queen coming up. An additional idea, knight takes pawn, and then you can't really take back. We'll take the rook, it's the obvious thing to do. Okay. And granted, taking that pawn was the obvious thing to do. It's an interesting way of defending your bishop. Actually, here's what we do. We bring our rook back to defend it from the bishop. Drats. Okay, do I have a way to take the bishop? I do. And I will take it. Okay, your king has gone back here, and okay, you're doing the whole bishop thing again. Do I have a way to take the bishop? I doubt it. I think the only thing I can do is go further into the past and try to stop things from occurring that way, but I'm not even sure how I'm going to manage that. So I don't think I really can. And even if I did, I'm not sure how that's going to actually help in the long run. Like, all I can really do here, I think... Well, okay, I could get my knight all the way back here. I think that's our only legal move, so... And then from here, we're either going to need to checkmate their kings. Why can't I... I'm not quite sure why that doesn't work. Yeah, because you're just checking that king, but if I go back in time... Now that isn't the present anymore. Then that should be fine, right? Or is it because this is technically the past thing, so it's already happened? Is that what's going on here? Like, I haven't technically lost yet. I must have a legal move somewhere. Would this block the diagonal? No. I mean, obviously, that wouldn't do it. Or that. I can't just go here because that creates a new timeline. I'm not sure what can be done here. Because you're checking this king that's already happened. This is a board I can't even interact with because it's your turn. Well, that doesn't help. Wait, what if I take my knight and put it here? Does that do anything? Still an illegal move. Okay. If I go here, that just... Now I'm just getting double checked. That doesn't do anything worthwhile. Technically, I think I'm supposed to have a legal move here. And I cannot find it for the life of me. The only other thing I can think of is, do I have a move to checkmate him before I'm checkmated? Doesn't seem likely. Let's see, my rook literally can't time travel. Nor my pawns. So the only things that could move to make something happen here would be either my king or my knights. Neither of which seems to actually be able to get me a legal situation. I haven't tried putting it in the future, I guess, technically. But again, that does not help, even slightly. I'm pretty sure I'm just dead. Like, I do not see what my legal move here is. Because I think the issue here is this bishop is he's checking a king that's already, like, moved. Like, this is a board that's already done, finished. So, like, even though it would be in the future of the play area, I guess it's technically, like, once it gets to this point, it can't really be remedied, right? Because all of these boards are already set in stone. So there's nothing I would be able to do to change this course of events. But I still feel like I should be able to, like if I got a check earlier in the game, though, I feel like that should still technically be able to remedy this. I honestly don't know what's going on right now here. I don't know. If you guys in the comments see what's going on here, what my legal move technically is, because I presume I must have one, then tell me about it. But I'm thinking I'm probably just gonna stop wasting my time on this board now. Yeah, obviously that doesn't do anything. Okay. I forfeit.